It's so goddamn beautiful! Yeah, we're leaving that in. How's it going, guys? It is Grizzle, and I just drank a shitload of Red Bull so that I could make this video. And that was my phone. So continuing on with the teasers for this next title update, most of you should know that a few of the maps are getting some pretty big significant changes. So a couple of videos ago, I did show off some pictures of the new distillery, and it does look absolutely fucking awesome, but now we've got some pictures can't fucking talk today. We've got the pictures showing off Wraith traps, so I'm really stoked to show this, and I know some of you might have already seen it on the forums, but I'm going to do my best to try and sort of speculate about why they've made some of the changes, but I definitely think it's going to be really, really good. This particular change I've actually already shown you guys, but either way, it's basically a change to the back fort box, so now you don't have that gap at the back, so monsters can't go around there to evolve, and so that if you do happen to dome in that area, you're not left with just a big loop. I also said that the vegetation has been cleared up a bit, and you can see in this particular area that it has certainly been, and you'll notice that with a lot of the other pictures as well. So just the main aim in a lot of these map changes is just to make the whole game a lot smoother and to make it a funner experience for when you do fight in certain areas. Looking at the current helipad, it was mainly not so good for hunters because it used so much jetpack to get up and down that platform. I guess there's other reasons as well, but the current helipad you can see now is just so much clearer in so many different ways. I mean, the amount of vegetation removed is pretty damn insane. They've also put some sort of boulders, so I guess if you're standing on them, it takes less jetpack to get up and down that platform. And I think one thing that's important to note is you'll see that it says fort in the background, and obviously that is the same area I just showed you. And the reason they've done that is they've made areas of the map a lot easier to identify so that you can communicate with your team. So for instance, if you do see the monster going over that area, then of course you can make the call out fort. I mean, a lot of the maps already have callouts, but I guess it's just making it easier for people. Of course, this one being helipad, and then you have jungle, and there's other areas of the map. It just helps players or teams out a lot. Anyway, moving on to a very common fight spot. Normally it's stage 3 when, you're trying to defend the relay. This is somewhere that hunters would like to cheese around quite a bit, and sort of that rock in the center was always very low, and I guess it was kind of annoying for monsters like Goliath to have to chase around that. Then, of course, a lot of indestructible trees, probably the most frustrating thing to deal with as a ground monster because you keep jumping into them. Hunters obviously keep juking around them. Very frustrating play. So again, you can see the amount of clear up in this area. I mean, they've raised that rock in the center, I guess, so hunters have to use a little bit more jetpack to get over it. And just no more invincible trees by the looks of things. I think a lot of the trees they said they were going to add are going to be destructible because for ground monsters, just traversing into those was really frustrating. But yeah, overall, definitely looks a lot cleaner to fight in. So now looking at the trail moving up towards town, I didn't see any huge problems with this area in particular, but again, if they're going to be tweaking the whole map, why not make all of it as perfect as possible? So looking at the change, the most noticeable thing for me straight away was they've replaced some of the rocky surfaces with these wooden structures. Now, I'm not quite sure whether that's been done to help gameplay or it's more of an arty type of thing, but either way, it does look cool and hopefully it will be all the better. But looking at the old one again, I think the main change in this particular area is there's that massive pillar in the center, and now that's been completely removed, so I guess it's easier as monster to move through that area, and also it gives more line of sight to the hunters. So ploughing on, this is kind of the sort of top center of the map where a sloth spawns, and also there's this tunnel. It doesn't really get used for fighting that much, but you might get a cheeky dome in this area. Again, this doesn't really show any major changes from a gameplay point of view, but you can see they've played around with the lighting and looks so much better. Then of course, if you move through the other side of the tunnel, this area is normally used for monsters to juke back and forth, but occasionally you do get hunters going through this area. Again, the only major change in this area seems to be to the lighting and the removal of that venom hound nest. I think that's what that is anyway. And so you get a good look at the other trail that leads up towards town. Now looking at the jungle area on Wraith Trap with the most vegetation, hence the name, you can see that they've obviously cleared a lot of that and they've opened it up a little bit, and this is normally where monsters again sort of try and duke the trapper out. Having said that, it's not only the trapper you have to duke out in the next title update, but then again, I think we haven't seen the monster changes yet, and I think they're going to be pretty beastly. So moving all that vegetation will be a lot less stressful on your PC if you play on PC. And probably one of my favourite changes here, you can see they've widened it a lot, and the glow and lighting in this area just looks so much better. So really glad that they haven't just taken the time to make gameplay changes, but graphically make it better as well. Again, moving on just outside the jungle area, this is sometimes a common fighting spot. Although here the difference is very simple, again from a gameplay point of view, it probably will make a very big difference. Main change being they've just kind of lowered the right side into a sort of ramp, I guess, so you don't have to use jetpack to get up there. there. Then, of course, if you continue down there, we get to the other sort of town area where the Tyrant Pool is. This used to be popular for relay fights because you could put out fire if you were cloaked, but that has been removed now. However, it's still a popular place to fight, and you will get some domes around this area, so definitely needed some tweaking. So they have added a couple of buildings on the right. The buildings also look a lot more stable, so I guess you don't get debris going everywhere if you jump on it as monster. Then looking from a different angle, it's kind of a cancerous spot for monsters because hunters had these indestructible trees they can just sort of dart around, but now of course that has been cleared up. They have left a couple, but it's definitely a lot easier to deal with. So you can see the two new shacks, sheds, or hobbit huts, whatever you want to call them. I would assume they're going to help out with some smoother gameplay, and they also do make the area look a lot better as well. Now going off to the back side of Wraith Trap, I wouldn't say it was a particularly bad area, but there was nothing really to go off. It needed spicing up a little bit, and also there wasn't really any callouts for that side of the map. So usual drill, they've added some lighting, cleaned it up a little bit, and they've added a silo, which I guess is helpful for making callouts. Obviously got rid of those indestructible trees. They've also widened out the back a little bit, I guess, so it's more room for monster. And just in general, looks like a place that's more identifiable on the map rather than just a random back area of Wraith Trap. Now starting to move towards relay, they haven't changed this area a huge amount. I mean, I don't really see any reason why they would. Again, just simple clearance. It's more or less the same looking at the other side of the relay. The only interesting change was the rock on the top left kind of got pushed in a little bit. I'm not sure whether that was to make room for orbitals, but that's the only reason I could think that would get moved. Again, clearer and looks a lot better. But then moving on to the probably the most important part, which was the actual relay. I'm not sure whether to say it was a good thing or a bad thing, but one thing the Wraith Trap relay is very open in comparison to other maps. Now that obviously gave a lot of options to hunters as where they wanted to fight because they had so many areas where they could actually shoot the relay from. The relay itself looks a little bit lower and a little bit more covered. Now I don't know if that's going to restrict hunters as to where they can actually shoot it from. Of course, the other option is to fight directly on relay. You'll find that most good hunter teams won't actually do this because it doesn't give you a very good tactical advantage. But looking at the changes, maybe they've made the changes big enough so that actually fighting on relay may give you a better chance. I mean, the way I see it, if new players are coming onto Evolve, they're likely going to go and fight directly on the relay rather than go and find a tactical position. Only advanced teams are really going to go and do that. I'm still a little skeptical on the idea, but I guess we will see with time. Anyway, more or less, those are the changes to Wraith Trap. You'll have to let me know in the comments what you think of these changes. I'm sure the devs will be interested to hear as well. I think they've done a fantastic job in clearing up the area and looks a whole lot nicer to play in. There are a couple of areas on the map that haven't been shown in those pictures, but I would assume that's because they haven't been changed up a huge amount, but more or less you get to see the main changes to Wraith Trap. Now I know I already talked about it, but there is going to be changes to weather and lighting a lot in the maps. I mean, when I showed you these class abilities, you can see that there's obviously dust storms on Wraith Trap here, and it looks really, really cool. Speaking of the class ability changes, I know a lot of you were skeptical to those changes, but just know that you haven't seen all the changes coming to the game. There's a lot more to still show, and if I was to show it in one video, you'd probably just be mind-fucked. So obviously I'm spreading them out as, you know, TRS tease them out, but I will get into that with some future videos. But as far as map changes go, so far we've had Distillery, Wraith Trap, and I know Orbital Drill has also had some similar changes, and that will be its own video as well when we get some more pictures. But so far you can see that they have made some similar changes that they have done to the other two maps. If you didn't know, Wraith Trap, Distillery, and Orbital Drill are the most balanced maps in the game, so I guess that's the reason why they decided to revamp those maps first. I'm not sure if they've done any other ones, maybe they have, maybe they haven't, but I'm pretty sure that now they've done those three. In terms of how we react to it, I guess that they will probably go ahead and revamp a lot of the other maps as well, so it'll be interesting to see if they actually decide to go through and do that. But if you haven't seen the Distillery or the new ability changes, do have a look. But otherwise than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.